Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 22nd day of November in the year 2024. Sure glad you joined me today, and I appreciate it very much. Another miserable, dreary day, but good for the rain, I guess. And, of course, today's date in history, November 22nd. This is, of course, the day back in 1963 that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Always a nostalgic date in history when we get to it. And I don't know about you, but I always go back and watch old videos of JFK on this day for the nostalgia, and still fascinated by that event. So, folks, there's a reason why I'm here today, and that is because I need to follow up to a few things about yesterday. And I think most of you know that Juan Barroso was supposed to have a hearing today. His case was finally up for a hearing. However, the hearing was what's called in the world of law adjourned or canceled. And I want to say that I think this is a good thing, having spoken with Juan and with his attorney, that this is a good thing because, as you may recall, when we came to you live yesterday, we had discussed the reality that the hearing that was scheduled for today was going to be closed to the public. And that was against the wishes of Juan. He wanted this to be an open public hearing. The town's labor council, Artibo, says that only cases involving police officers can be public. But we found case law that clearly states that so long as there are no deliberations taking place and so long as an issue of whether to fire on the spot does not come up, that such cases may and should be taking place in a public forum. And so, I suppose, rather than go ahead with this, the hearing officer determined that he would adjourn the case for now to give the town time to reconsider its decision whether or not to open it up to the public. Now, I would again ask the same question that I asked yesterday, and that I would probably continue to ask if they decide ultimately not to open it to the public, which I believe, based on my research and from the lawyers that I've been speaking with, would be unlawful to keep it closed to the public. I would again ask the question that's very simple. Why? Why would you not want to make this open and to the point where people can hear the facts as they have been presented to the Civil Service Board and to the town administrator, etc., etc.? Because, look, Juan doesn't believe he has anything to hide. And I would say if you don't have anything to hide, then you would want it to be in the public, and that's what he asked for. And I would think for people like Artibo, the Labor Council, who I would imagine is the one who makes this decision, I wouldn't understand it, because the person who canceled this was the hearing officer. He was the one who adjourned it. He granted one adjournment to both sides, which means one adjournment to Juan, which will be today, and one unscheduled adjournment to the town of Kearney if they need it. And then it would have to be upon mutual agreement after that, after each gets one adjournment. Now, all of this came up because a couple of days ago, I sent an email to the Labor Council, Artibo, and to the mayor, and to a couple of other people. You'll see the names that are up on that screen. Arthur Tebow is the Labor Council for the town of Kearney. Tim Smith is Juan's lawyer, and there were a couple other people who were on this email, including Lisa and Juan. And when I sent the letter, I brought it to the attention of the mayor and the town Labor Council about this case that we are aware of, that it's settled in New Jersey case law, and it is the case of Della Sera versus the Borough of Mountainside, 1984. In that case, an appeal affirmed the hearing should have been open to the public, and any matters of termination until any matters of termination were discussed and any deliberations on the matter took place. Otherwise, the hearing should be open to the public. Nowhere does the case law appear to indicate this only applies to law enforcement matters. And there's a reason why I say that and bring this up, that it doesn't apply to cases other than law enforcement. And that's because that was the reason that Mr. Tebow gave to the attorney for Juan Barroso. He said that it's not a law enforcement matter, so it should be in private, which makes zero sense whatsoever. This was the email that we all got yesterday, but it says here that the guy who's hearing the case, I will permit one adjournment for each side. Tomorrow will be canceled. The township will be permitted one adjournment in the future. Any adjournments beyond that must be mutually agreed upon. So that's where that stands right now. So, it's a good thing, I think, for now, and I think ultimately we will wind up finding out that this should be open to the public. I really do hope that is the case. But there's also another reason why I have to bring this up to you, and that is because early this morning I got a phone call from a good friend who is, I will just say, a town employee, who told me that another town employee and a member of the town council said that I was saying in my broadcast yesterday that I planned on attempting to live stream this hearing tomorrow. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because anybody who knows anything about law, and that includes me here, knows that in order to broadcast from a courtroom, and though this wasn't a court case, you figure that a lot with these civil service hearings, they're run just the way a courtroom would be, that you would have to get permission to broadcast or take photographs inside a hearing. So never at any point did I say that my intention was to live stream this hearing that was ultimately canceled. But what I did say was this. Now, we got to be honest. We have to be fair about this. They are probably all down at Atlantic City for the League of Municipalities convention, or whatever the hell it is. But the bottom line is, everybody has access to their phones when they're away. Everybody could, and more than likely, read the letter that we sent to them requesting on behalf of the press that this hearing be open to the public. We had the case law to prove that it should be open to the public, and we did not get any kind of response at all from this. So that's where it stands right now. My intention tomorrow is to be at Town Hall at the time of the hearing. We don't even know what time the hearing is yet, but whatever the time of the hearing is, I intend to be there. And I am hoping that by the time things roll along tomorrow morning or afternoon, whatever time of day this hearing does happen, that they are wise enough to realize that this should be an open hearing, because the truth of the matter is, by keeping it closed to the public, you just have to ask yourself, why? Why would you keep something like this closed? There is no reason for it. The person who is being brought up on administrative charges wants it to be out in public. Now, if he had done something wrong where he doesn't want the public to know about it, you would probably say, yeah, go right ahead and keep this case closed. That's the way it should be. But if he's asking for it to be open, one, and let's be realistic. I mean, we've seen almost all of the evidence in this case already. I'm sure there's things we haven't, which is fine. But he outright wants this to be open to the public so they can see the frivolous nature of the things that he's been accused of doing. And why, if you're an attorney or if you're a labor counsel, why wouldn't you want it to be public? Why wouldn't you? What are you hiding that you don't want this to get out to the public? What is it? If the defendant, I mean, I guess that's the right word to use here. It's not really a court case, but if the person who is up on charges wants it to be put out to the public, what are you scared of that you would keep this private? So as it stands right now, a day before this hearing, it's supposed to be closed to the public. It should be open to the public, and right now they don't want to open it for whatever reason, even though the case law is there and clearly makes it reasonable to believe that this should be open to the public. And that is just absolutely mind-numbing. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get an email. If we get a response between now and the time of the hearing, whatever it may be, we will certainly let you know when we get that information, but there's no way to tell whether that's going to happen. And I'm not sitting around waiting for my email to go off, because I don't expect it's going to happen anytime soon. We didn't want to have to do this broadcast today. We really didn't. But unfortunately, since these are things that are going to be discussed at the hearings tomorrow, we decided to bring it to you anyway, just in case it is absolutely necessary to do so. So that's what was actually discussed yesterday. At no point did I ever say that I was going to try to live stream this, and no time did I ever say that I was going to try to take pictures or anything of that nature. Now, I understand that sometimes things get lost in translation. When the broadcast in total yesterday was almost an hour long, so it's possible that some words got misconstrued or something like that. But I think it's pretty evident that I made it clear that I was going to attend, regardless of whether they opened it to the public, and attempt to get in there. And I said this to the gentleman, my friend, who called me this morning, that if I had to risk getting arrested for it, I would have, because I believe in my heart of hearts that this should have been a public hearing. Ultimately, the decision was made for us. The hearing officer canceled the hearing and adjourned it for another day. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later, because this has already been dragging on for 9 months, as you know. But I would have presented myself there yesterday as a member of the press with all expectations that I would have been permitted in there. And if I hadn't, and I had to be removed, that would be fine. You can certainly arrest me and take me out in handcuffs if that's the way you want to handle it. But that would be another slap in the face to what's going on to Juan. If I was the one who got arrested in this case, kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, but that was a risk that I was willing to take. I really was. Now, once again, because we didn't get it till later, and I'm going to show this one more time to you today, we received a video that was filmed in October of 2023, and it was of Sidney Ferreira speaking at the beefsteak dinner that many people believe was the reason why this whole BS case was brought up in the first place. I'm just going to set it up for you. In 2023, as they do every year, the FMBA puts on a beefsteak fundraiser. And the fundraiser's intention is to raise money for the FMBA, which then turns around and gives the money to children and families in need, buys gifts and toys and bikes, and God, I just go on and on. This is what Juan has done. And I'm going to show you some examples of that after this. But I want to show you the video because the former mayor of Kearney, Peter P. Santana, was seen yelling and screaming at Juan at the parade the day after this and saying, "I'm the effing mayor," et cetera, you shouldn't have allowed him to speak. Who was he to speak? I'm the effing mayor, blah, blah, blah. And we had a picture of it, which we showed on the broadcast yesterday. But it all started because Sidney was asked if he or if he wanted to speak, and Sid was very hesitant about doing it, but he did it. And at no point in time did he ever make a political statement during this dinner. We knew this. But then somebody who I think is a hero, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants it to get out there. I get this video sent to me yesterday. He filmed it. And we have the video proof that at no point in time during that beefsteak dinner in 2023 did Sidney Ferreira say anything political. Here it is.
I just put the tables. I didn't want any recognition for it. Thank you, Juan. So I'm here tonight to affirm my lifelong support for unions and all employees. I believe all employees have the right to collectively bargain for fair wages, benefits, and working conditions. As As leaders, it is our duty to negotiate a fair balance between our employees and the interests of the taxpayers. So a little personal story about me. My parents immigrated from Portugal, everyone knows that. They eventually both became union members here after working several jobs non-union. My mom, God rest her soul, was a seamstress, and my dad was here with us tonight. Worked for New Jersey Transit as a bus mechanic and a member of the Located Transit Union, ATU. And I believe because we were a union household, we were afforded opportunities and we provided a stable, comfortable lifestyle. We weren't wealthy by any means, and it was a struggle at times, but my parents were always able to provide for me and my brother, with food and clothing, a roof over our heads, a good education, and a loving home. Growing up, I also recall a book that I read, I had to read from school, called The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. The book was about immigrant worker experience in Chicago's meat market district. And it went into detail about the terrible working conditions in the days before organized unions. People would simply die from overworking or disease, or they would be aged out at a young age simply because there was a new influx of workers coming in who would take their jobs for a fraction of their wages. This hit home because I thought that this is what my parents went through when they came to this country before they became union members. I always thought about how different my life and my upbringing would be if they hadn't become union members. Unions were formed to provide a voice for workers, protecting worker conditions, fight for wages, and advocate for benefits. I will always sympathize with those efforts. You have my commitment, and I will be actively involved in contract negotiations, because it is not fair and honestly disrespectful that employees have to wait months, sometimes years, for a contract settlement. I want to make sure that employees are protected and treated fairly while balancing the interests of taxpayers and helping to provide the best value for their hard-earned tax dollars. That is why I want to be actively involved in these negotiations to balance the interests of both sides. I know that when employees are treated fairly, then they will work harder and will ultimately benefit our town and our taxpayers. Let's work to come up with common sense solutions that will benefit all of us and make Kearney a better place to live and work. Thank you all for your service. Thank you all for being here to support our firefighters and men and women in uniform. God bless you and your families, and may God continue to bless our town and country. Thank you.
If you don't mind me saying, and I mentioned this yesterday, why couldn't they have just been quiet for 3 minutes? My understanding that half the audience was Harrison folks, and I'm sure they're not interested in what a Kearney politician has to say. I don't know how that just happened. I mean, just quiet down for a couple minutes, would you please? I mean, why is it so hard? That was kind of rude to Sidney, and I think he gave a very, very good speech that day, but nothing he said in that speech would make me, if I were the mayor, want to say, I'm the fucking mayor here. But that's what happened. And then conveniently, a couple of weeks later, Juan Barroso has been suspended for 9 months. He's no longer the mayor. And now he has a brand new baby who needs medical formula, which would be covered by the insurance that the town of Kearney canceled on Juan, and now he can't pay for it out of his pocket because it's $400 a week for this formula. So just keep that in mind, okay? And I want you to keep something else in mind. I don't know if this person would necessarily want me to reveal that she was the one who reminded me about this, but okay, it was Lisa. She wanted to remind me of things. She wanted me to remind all of you of things like this. This was our front page just before Christmas in 2017. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it right here, but in the center of the picture, holding a yellow box with, I don't know if that's a Hess truck or what it is Juan Barroso. And let me see if I can blow this up so you can see it a little bit better. Hold on. Of course, I locked it, so I'm not going to be able to open it. But in the middle of that picture is Juan Barroso with a significant number of members of the FMBA. And this was the end of the toy collection that the FMBA, collected as they do and have done every single year. This was 2017, mind you. And it happened again in 2018, in 2019. Yes, it even happened in 2020 when COVID was rampant. It happened in 2021, 2022, and 2023. What will happen in 2024, I don't know. But when you consider that the person who would normally be the one to organize a toy drive like this is on the outside now because he allegedly went to a funeral for Charlie Ty, and because he allegedly did all these other things and can't even pay for his baby's formula? Are you kidding? Who deserves something like this? If he went out there, remember, Juan is married and has a beautiful wife, Jody, and 4 beautiful sons. If Juan Barroso was going out there and he was getting drunk every Friday night with the guys, and he was walking around town and exposing himself to women, or if he was really doing some crazy things like we've seen before in this town, by all means, suspend the hell out of him. But you know what he does in his spare time? He does what you see on the screen right here. And you know what he does in his spare time? He raises $250,000 million in cash that I bet he could use right now on his own. But he raises that money. He raised that money with bowling tournaments, T-shirt sales, drives like this. You know what he does in his spare time? He goes to Camp Fatima every year. This is where he met his beloved Jody. They loved each other so much after they met at Camp Fatima that he proposed to her there. And this is who suspended. This is who suspended. So I don't care what he's alleged to have done. As we've said it 1,000 times over, the punishment does not meet the offense. I'm not going to say crime because it's not a crime. The crime is that this is still going on 9 months later. I want to know this, and I would defy any one of them to answer this and say they'd be fine. I want to know if anybody who's up there who has been elected or who is running a department has ever been faced with the challenge of not being able to basically put formula on the table for their newborn baby after all these incredible things that that person has done. And the answer is they couldn't do it. And here we are on November 22nd, 1 year and 1 month after this all began. And it's still happening. And I want to say it again. And maybe she's not going to be happy with me for saying this. But the mayor's got to intervene. She has to. She has to at this point. Because it's a matter now, I believe, of life or death. Because by not intervening, we all know now, and I hope everybody who's watching this knows this now, that it costs approximately $400 to put special formula on a table for a newborn baby. And the very same town of Kearney that we are talking about here canceled his insurance They canceled his insurance, folks. That did not have to happen, but it happened. It did not happen, but it did. That is where we are right now. That is where we are right now. And if, God forbid, something ever happens because Juan can't get the formula necessary, could you even begin to imagine what that would be like from here on in? Just think about that. Michelle Lynn is in the chat room, and she says, Juan is an amazing person who goes above and beyond for people. I reached out to Juan last year about having some of the special education students come to each firehouse to sing Christmas songs and bring firefighters treats they made. He did not hesitate to set it up immediately, even helping get the kids shirts made so they could be Santa's elves while the kids went around town spreading holiday cheer to town employees. He is the definition of a stand-up guy. This is who Joe Mastandrea suspended for taking a class, New Jersey Learn class. This is who Joe Mastandrea suspended because he went to Charlie Ty's funeral out of respect for a man who has been a better chief than he could ever dream of being. And this is where we stand today. And so that's why I decided to come live today, to kind of recap all the things that were being discussed over the last 24 hours, and we will continue to do this. We will continue to do this. And hopefully we'll hear soon about this hearing being given the green light with it being open to the public. Because remember, the only people who don't want a public hearing public are guilty people. People who have done something wrong. People who have made a big mistake. And do not think for a second that it's not possible that the people who are levying these bogus charges on Mr. Barroso aren't guilty of some wrongdoing too. And perhaps that's the reason why they don't want this public hearing, because they know that when people see what these baseless charges are, that it's nothing but pure bull crap. So we wait, we will see what happens, and perhaps when all is said and done, we don't know. We don't know. My aunt is on the chat room here, and she wants to know what the formula is. We'll find out. She had a great doctor who gave us carts full. Whatever it is, it's supposedly like $400 a week in order to afford it, because the baby, I think, is lactose intolerant and all sorts of other things. All four of the babies, all four of the kids who, when they were young, were allergic to regular, like Infamil or whatever, Similac, whatever it is called today. But one had the insurance for it then. But since the town of Kearney so graciously canceled his insurance while he waits for this case that's over a year old now, it seems, 9 months old now, it's pay out of cash or don't get it. And you just think about that kind of expense on top of a mortgage and car payments and other things and living. That's where it stands. So if we hear anything else, we will let you know. The Montero family is also here, and they said it's crazy how politicians use their power to hurt a good man like Juan. Amen to that. Tony, if that's you, thank you. I'd imagine it is, but if it's another Montero, thank you. Whoever in the Montero family this is. This case is as disgusting as anything I have ever seen in 32 years of being a journalist, and in covering most of those years here in Kearney. I don't want it to see this continue, but it is. But God willing, It will be fixed soon, and we will not stop. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Fridays. Have a good weekend. We will regroup sometime next week. We'll let you know if we hear any other developments from now until then. Otherwise, try to enjoy this weekend. It's not going to be the best weekend, is it? But enjoy it as much as you can. And it is, Tony. Thank you, buddy. It's good to see you, Chief. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.